Hi everyone, welcome to Career Talkies with Abhilash, where we bring you career journeys that don't just inform but inspire. Today's guest is someone who sits at the intersection of strategy, scale, and emerging tech. Sahil Yadav is an award winning AI and SaaS product executive whose work impacts over billion devices worldwide, from scaling product revenue 10x to leading edge computing innovations in telecom, manufacturing, industrial IoT. His career is a masterclass in itself in how to build with vision and execute with precision. I would like to welcome Sahil. Sahil is joining us from US. Hi Sahil, welcome to the
Pleasure
show.
to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
And I'm very happy that finally I could catch you and you could spare some time and we could talk about this. A little bit more about Sahil. I want my audience to understand. Sahil is a graduate from Harvard Business School and UC Irvine. Sahil has launched over 13 products, led global teams across the US, Europe, and India, and championed AI systems that are not only smart but trustworthy. He's been a feature voice at the AI World Fair, a judge at leading global AI conferences, and a thought leader in publications like Broadband Library and A3 Magazine. But behind these titles and tech is a deeper story of curiosity, adaptability, and a relentless commitment to create products that solve real problems at scale. Sahil, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here today with me. Let's begin by exploring your journey that took you from the classrooms of Karnataka, where you did your engineering, to the boardrooms of Silicon Valley.
Absolutely. And it's been quite a journey because when I completed my engineering at that point in time, like most of us, I had no clue what I wanted to do. And most of my class was focused on uh, just getting a job, any kind of job. And I was sure about one thing though. I did not want to um, build my career on uh, just the technology. I was always interested in the business side of technology. I wanted to stick towards technology, but I definitely wanted to grow in the business side of technology. So when I took my first job, I had a couple of options. I had an option to build a career path in growing in technology and taking over a job that involved coding to actually doing a job that was related to marketing, and I chose marketing because I just wanted to understand the business. And that led me to working with IBM at that time when I was working in New Delhi. And I was working in a global team of IBM, which we were basically, in a way, supporting offices here in the US for the marketing team. And I think through that journey, I realized, or time spent, I realized that I wanted to be in a decision-making place, wanted to be in a decision-making position, and I could not do that even though I was working for a global company like IBM in India. So that actually shaped up my journey a bit. It helped me take the next steps in my career as well, whether it was higher education through MBA, moving to the US, and so on and so forth. But I think those were that time was very critical in defining how I ended up here.
No, but I would like, I want to, I just, want to say or ask you in this point. Now, when it comes to India, also, I feel that you had your exposure of studying in different state
Yeah,
and working in a different state. So you are a part of the diversity of, experiencing the diversity. So this also creates a lot of dilemma. So what happens is when we come out of college, definitely we are not so clear, and maybe in your era, it was not AI, it was big data. But
Yeah.
things like some terminology always keeps on,
Yeah.
everybody talks about innovation and overused terminology, which keeps you
Yeah.
drives you at campus. That okay, I will be doing something around that. Maybe today's generation they're talking about AI, but 10, 15 years back it was big data and innovation through startup and all that kind of stories of from global stories coming up and talking like that.
Yeah.
So now my question here is like your decision. Was it a campus placement first of all? Second, the way you entered, I'm sure you navigated your path inside the company as well for a role which fits your
Yeah.
ambition and maybe your perception. When I'm 21, I'm thinking like this. I'll do good, but when I
Yeah.
enter and I learn, then I realize no, there is so much more to know, and maybe that role is much better, or somebody trains you to be good at something which you didn't even think of. So something like this happened to you. Like how much open were you to learning all this kind of aspects, especially in India, Indian ecosystem?
Absolutely. So, starting from the first point, there were options for campus placement as well, but they were mostly tech-related options. Um, and for business-related options, I had to look elsewhere. I had to, family and friends were very helpful in terms of making connections and so on and so forth. But I definitely had to look outside. And that is, I think, very typical for a engineering college, at least during that time frame. I don't know how it is these days, but during that time frame, um, it was mostly tech jobs that were available, and that too, I'd say 90% of the jobs were software coding jobs, as opposed to anything else from engineering colleges. Even though my specialization was in electronics and communication, very few typical electronics jobs were available because India at that time point in time in the previous decade has grown as this amazing place, giant, where a lot of software development happens. Bangalore is considered, Silicon Valley of Asia. So, of course, opportunities were abundant on that front, but very few, very, very few opportunities on the business side. So that was one driving factor as well that I wanted to do. I wanted to explore the business part. And then once I got into the organization, I think I was working with people who were more experienced, and that is because in order to reach that level of whether you're doing marketing or product management or any other sort of decision making role that you get into, you need to have certain amount of experience. So usually you'd find people working 3 to 4 years in a technical role and then transitioning later. So the people that I was working with were slightly experienced, and I had no experience. I was just coming out of college, so there were a lot of challenges that I had to face at that point in time, especially keeping up with the other people, being able to perform at the same level as the other people. So it was a huge challenge, but at the same time, an opportunity to be able to learn faster, learn more, and possibly have a faster career path. Um, and that was important because that led to me understanding this different aspects of business and different areas where decisions are made. So, for example, if I if I'm on the technical track, I'm just focused on my particular area of work, my particular engineering team, and so on and so forth. But once you go into the business side of things, you're looking at different angles into, okay, if you launch a product, how does marketing play a role? How does sales play a role? How does finance play a role? What are the teams that drive them together? Those things are important, especially if you aspire to be, let's say, an entrepreneur at a later point in time, and if you were to launch your own company, then you have to understand these different segments of business and how they come together and how they work together. So I was very fortunate to have had that experience at IBM to be able to understand those different areas. And then I was able to nail down that, okay, product management is where I want to grow, and this is where I will make my future. So I
Yeah. So,
transitioned from marketing to product management after that.
so before I go to that particular thing, I just saw your timeline that after IBM you pursued your MBA from US. I'm sure GMAT you would have given GMAT, and you would
Yeah.
have taken the lot of whatever is the
Interview.
yeah, so many aspects. Not just one particular university, but multiple
Yeah.
universities. And were your decision to be at the product side of the role, was it before going for MBA, or how? Because post that I see that you've done everything around product management, and
Yeah.
you've grown yourself into that particular role, and then the technological leadership is fine. How did that
Yeah.
decision happen? Were you having a mentor, or somebody to
Yeah.
guide you over there, and how exactly
Absolutely.
what shapes up? What led to what?
So when I was at IBM, I was on a product focused marketing team, and uh, I was very closely working with product managers at that point in time, and those product managers were based out of the US. So I was reporting into them, and they were mentors for to me in terms of helping me make a transition into product as well, because I identified that the product management is what I wanted to do at that time itself. And they actually helped me not only with guiding in terms of what are the next steps to take to in order to become a good product manager. So MBA was a suggestion made by them, and they laid out the path for it as well. They helped me secure some of the good colleges too, because they helped me with letter of recommendation, which is a very important part, along with GMAT and interviews as part of the MBA application process. So I think I would give a lot of credit to my managers at that time who really helped me transition into this role, and at the same time getting into the MBA college. So to answer your question, previous question, did I know whether I wanted to do product management before the MBA? Yes, I did. Um, and that is a rare case, I would say that, because when I was at the MBA school, 90% of my class was actually undergoing a career shift or some form of transition. So they were not aware of what they wanted to do. Um, but for me, having this level of clarity actually saved time and put a lot of focus into where I was headed.
I think yeah, that's what I mean. Obviously, I want you to also help our Indian audience understand the education system of MBA and the internship, and the engagement with the market, because I'm sure many of us still believe that a campus placement happens in US, or how do you interact with the networking part is lacking in
Yeah,
India, and you would have also experienced from your own side. So one, because this journey now we talk of is you're very clear of what you want to do, why you want to do, and then you join that particular MBA, and but you pursue your aspiration, and the entire next 7 years is all about product management role in different bigger organizations, and
yeah,
handling multiple teams, global teams. So I would want you to give a little bit you know highlight on that part for the career
sure.
pathway.
I think Indian education system and having the exposure to both sides of the fence. Indian education system is very different from an American education system. Not just from the curriculum itself, but also from uh, the process of learning. American education system is more focused on more practical learning as opposed to theoretical learning. So when I was at the MBA, one common thing that you'll find across most MBA programs is that they put you in small groups of let's say 6 to 10 people, and you are supposed to work together as a group and solve problems for businesses, whether it is a theoretical case or a practical case. And those groups actually become your best friends and your batchmates, and people in those groups have lifelong relationships as well because you spend a lot of time together. So I was fortunate to be in a good group, and then the curriculum involved a lot of. There were first year is mostly around theoretical cases or cases that have happened in the past. And then second year is more around working, doing internships, working with actual companies, solving actual problems, and making recommendations. All of that is free for the organizations, but you get a lot of good experience as well as a lot of stuff to put on your resume. So my experience, I was fortunate enough to get an internship with Cisco at that time, and it was in product management. And I think that really helped shape a lot of things within the organization at Cisco in terms of me interacting with people, how I interacted with them, in terms of how I networked around the company, and how I was able to finally secure my final job. Um, I think if I were to circle one key sort of change that I had to make in myself in terms of my personality was being able to actively network. Because, like you said before, there's no campus placement in the US. It is all networking based. And networking in today's social media, given where we are in social media and everything, LinkedIn is a key tool, and everybody uses LinkedIn. So you have to be very LinkedIn savvy. But at the same time, networking meant what networking meant to us back then was LinkedIn can help you get a foot in the door. So you get your first sort of conversation with somebody, but then you have to be good enough to be able to have a nicer conversation with someone. And the way I was, um, I had mentors at that point in time who were helping me, and the way things that they told me was always remember one thing about networking. If if you spend 30 minutes with somebody, what they are trying to gauge, whether if they want to give the job to you or not, they're trying to gauge is if you were in a flight with them and you had to spend 3 to 4 hours with them, is this a nice person to spend time with or not? More than the technical knowledge. So always focus on that part, I think. Especially if you're going the business route, you have to be able to do small talk, from weather to all kinds of things. But traffic, weather, and I had my whole list of things that I could talk about at that time. But these were the sort of the major things that I had to learn, especially coming from India, especially being brought up in a engineering school where you don't get so many opportunities to network or have that kind of personality. So that was something that was built over time, and I had very limited time to build that. So um, for anyone who's looking to pursue this path, I would suggest focus a lot on building that personality that will help you grow even in your career at a later point in time.
I think this mantra is valid across because you usually want to be with people whom you can spend time with, and if they're your, even that's how the teams get selected, and all the other things, skills are learnable when it comes to
Yep.
look at teams. Coming to the segment now, I am going to talk a little bit about what actually brought me to your profile and curiosity. Something I mean read about was building billion device impact.
Yeah.
Now, for me to understand this is that is like a device we use today. We are all while we think that we are the user, but there are so many crores of users across the globe for an app or something connected to this particular internet and technology device. So you have worked across safety tech, broadband, and industrial AI. So what is your perception or what is your learning when it comes to common across all these products, which are actually scalable, billion device, and what people, in India, there's one challenge we all run after thinking that everything should be scalable, and we don't know the parameters of scalability.
Mm,
I don't want to go to technical, technical, but I want to
mm,
give you that knowledge where the young minds who are looking of creating key, how it calculates through Excel sheet, 100 रुपये खरीदेगा, उसके बाद इंडिया में इसका मार्केट गैप में 1.5 करोड़ लोग हैं, 1.5 करोड़ into 100, और
mm.
like this is Excel sheet वाले, we have a lot of, I'm sorry to break in Hindi, but that's how
No,
actually
no.
happens that we
Yeah,
create a goal out of something which we do not know the path of, the scalability. But
yeah,
your way of understanding or scaling is what I want you to little bit highlight and speak about.
absolutely. So this has to do with a little bit of um, MBA learning business as well. But whenever we're trying to build something new and think about scaling it, one of the first things that you want to do is you want to, at a very high level, and you can go deep if you want to, but you want to build a business case for it. And what I mean by that is, you want to look at the market side of things. Is there a market for this is there a need for this kind of a product or service that you're building? The second thing that you look at is if there is a need, are people willing to pay for this product? And then the third thing is how can you scale this product across whether it is different verticals or different industries? How many users can you get, and what kind of revenue you can generate? So basically, doing some sort of a financial projection analysis. Those are three main things for a business case. And then the fourth thing is if you can do some level of interviews with prospective clients and get some anecdotal quotes as well. That's also very meaningful. These are the three or four main basic things, and then there are several other things. Several forms of analysis that you can do from NPV, and I'm not going to get into details of technical side of all the financial analysis that can be done. But this is where you start, and then you um, these days, I think what's different from what was before was you did all of this analysis. After that, you just built the product, you spend millions of dollars, built the product, and you put it out in the market and it doesn't sell. What we do differently is you do the first level of financial business case building. Then after that, you create prototypes at very low cost. You invest in doing that. Now, after that, you recruit beta customers. Beta customers could be two or three initial customers who should be very nice customers. Your goal is to basically work with them, understand their problems, and build your product by taking feedback from them. And once you achieve that goal, your beta customer is likely to buy a product. And once that happens, then you start scaling into other customers and across billions of devices. So one key aspect of this is, and sorry to go a little technical, but this is this is the way it's done today, is that even when you're building your prototype with minimal tools and uh, you have AWSs and Azure of the world to be able to do these things, um, you have to very much focus on scalability from the beginning itself. If you know you're going to scale to a billion endpoints, billion users or devices, then you need to start from day one when you're building that prototype. You design your architecture in that way. So all of these things are kept in mind, and this is a process. This is a playbook. I'm actually writing a blog on this, or perhaps may even convert that into a paper. But this is a product management process of how do you think about before the product even exists? How do you start from level zero and then to acquiring your first customer to scaling into billions of devices? This is a a practiced, well thought out process that there is that you can follow. Um, and it's easy to do that because these days a lot of companies have already tried it and have had success.
So my first request is maybe I'm going to ask you to create a workshop on product management. Why I'll come to know and I'll tell you is that today in India today the maximum the role which is looked up to is product management or product managers role. Challenge is because of the multiple industry and multiple segment, all of them consider any product which is dealing with customer as a product manager role. But the requirement for each is different and unique to the industry they come from. But next comes is what your specialty also is here is the integration of AI. And you have someone who actually I feel is the trend setter. You being in US, you have been experiencing or managing AI integration way back 5 years before what which is right now in noise or in right now a trend in India. So I see that you have worked with big global firms. I mean, and you have also, kind of your leadership in AI and strategy has been so that at a very young age you are also judge and you are also a mentor and you're as you mentioned writing a white paper. So how my next question is how should somebody because we know that future of work is AI driven, how somebody look for a career in product management and integrate with AI strategy. Give one perspective from the Indian side, like from the Indian MBAs and the
Yeah,
way the market over here is, and another perspective of because yes, definitely many people are moving to US for better prospect of work and life balance. From both the side, I requesting for your perception.
absolutely. Let's start from the Indian perception first. So on the well, if you were to let's say uh, start your career by uh, getting an engineering degree, and then after that maybe you work for a few years and then get your MBA, or you get your MBA directly, or some other form of masters. In terms of getting into product management itself, there are two or three ways to get into product management. The usual way is that you start your career in some technical capacity, and then over the years, you grow your knowledge in a particular area, and then as you grow your knowledge, then you become a product manager because product managers are required to have deep knowledge about a particular segment as well to be able to make decisions on that. So you can do that. The other way, the path that I followed was more around rather than having one deep area of knowledge, focus on the business aspect of things as well. So there are two types of product managers essentially. There are technical product managers, and then there are business-oriented product managers. Technical product managers mostly focus on um, understanding the needs of the customer and working with engineering teams to be able to deliver these things over time. Um, Business product managers focus on growing the product, growing the revenue, focusing on the business and how you grow the business. And there is there are people who are somewhere in the middle like me who have slight bit of technical, slight bit of business, and try to maintain a balance out of both. So going back to the Indian graduate, I think the best way to get into product management is perhaps build your skills in a technical area, and then get an MBA to be able to get the business view, then do product management so that you have your area of expertise, plus you have knowledge of the business, and that will sort of make you a rounded product manager. On the uh, American side, if you are pursuing, let's say, a program in the US, I think most of the top universities anyway require you to have experience. Otherwise, it's rather hard to get into a top university or a top program in the US for MBA. So anyway, you would have that experience. What I would suggest is pick your technology early and put some thought into picking that technology. For example, um, I spent the last decade working for AI because I was able to pick that technology at that point in time. And I decided, 10 years ago, or back when I was doing the MBA, AI was very far from what it is today. And it was very different too. Most of the use cases were focused on machine learning as opposed to generative AI is very prevalent these days. So it was hard, but you have to do some research to know what technologies will exist in the future or in the next decade, and then you start investing your time in those technologies. So I would recommend that to everyone at this point who, if you're looking to build a career, today AI already exists and AI is very popular. What you got to think two steps ahead. What will be within AI? What will be the most important thing 10 years down the line? Um, I have identified three main areas. We call them AGI, artificial general intelligence, that everybody is working on, ASI, artificial super intelligence, which will be the next form of AI after maybe 10 years later. And then the third area which I've identified is XAI or explainability AI, because there's a lot of issues with the governance of AI these days. And so my personal research is these days is focused on XAI or explainability AI. But for somebody who's building a career in AI, maybe amongst these three areas or some other areas, but you got to pick something that will be very relevant 10 years down the line. Start working on that today. Build your knowledge, because once you get out of the MBA or complete your master's, most of the jobs will be focused on these areas as well. So it will be easier for you to get a job, and at the same time, you'll be able to build a career in something that will grow in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And now we are at coming out towards our close of the discussion here and conversation to be very fun, So I actually have a rapid fire kind of a question, and I would want you to instantly give me answer. The first one which that comes in your mind, and it is
Okay.
not to put you on spot. Don't worry. It's just a
Well,
career-driven program. What spot will I put you in? So it's
this
so are
coffee
you ready
with
for that?
Karan thing,
No, no, no.
coffee with
It's not.
Karan
That's
experience.
why there's no coffee. It's all about career. So are you ready for that?
Sure, let's do it.
Yeah. So one book that changed your thinking, and you recommend.
I don't read books. Let me be honest. I read articles. I read digital, consume digital media.
Fantastic. A new age person. A quote that keeps you grounded.
Well, always focus on treating people the way you want to be treated.
Now you being an AI specialist, and with a lot of articles, a lot of perspectives. What do you think? Is right to say AI is a hype, is a hope, or human helper?
Um, it's a mix of both. I think the companies, big companies like OpenAI and Google and Microsoft of the world, the way they are taking AI these days, it's definitely a lot of hope as well to a great future. But at the same time, it comes with a lot of risks, which nobody is focused in, and that's where trust in AI or governance in AI is absolutely needed. But the way I foresee things in the future, and this might be an elaborate answer, but just to put things into perspective, a lot of people come to me asking that is AI going to take jobs away? And my answer to that is AI will not take your job, but somebody using AI will take your job away. So I think you need to learn to use AI, learn to live with AI, and at the same time, uh, uh, well, change your course to some extent, but upgrade your skill set with AI rather than focusing on losing your job to AI.
Any specific tool in AI you want to highlight? A must learn types? Anything? I mean, from your side, your perspective.
I think everybody, regardless of whether you're technical or not, everybody should do prompt engineering, regardless of the tool. Prompt engineering, the term in itself has engineering in it, but it's a very simple thing. You have to learn how to talk to AI and be able to get correct results. I've struggled a lot initially when I started, but if you don't do that today, then I think you will be behind. So definitely focus on prompt engineering, regardless of whether it's you doing ChatGPT, Grok, or whatever.
Great. That's a fantastic advice. Now, this is something very personal. One career mistake you are glad you made.
Real mistake, I'm glad I made. I think I, yeah, there was a time when I was working at GE and I was given this opportunity to work at a company called Guard Hat, which is a smaller company, and it's coming from GE, which is a global company. It uh, it was a very tough decision because I had a good job at GE, but I took that challenge because I'd never worked for a small company, and I got a good opportunity at Guard Hat as well. Um, I think that was a career mistake from the standpoint that I that is not where I wanted to take my career. There was something great that I wanted to do because the business was related to saving human lives. So it spoke a lot to me personally. But in terms of learning the skill set or growing my career in a certain way, that was not the best path for me. And I course corrected at a later point in time. But it was the best mistake because I think that experience gave me a lot of exposure, a lot of learning, and I was able to. That experience also led me into enrolling into the Harvard Business School program. So it turned out to be a good mistake.
Super. Now, this is the last question, and I think you're the best person to answer this. Now, if today's young listener, like my listener, dreams of building something that reaches a billion users, what's your one advice for them before they sleep tonight?
I think start with obviously you're thinking of building something for a billion users, so you're thinking big, but focus on the value that it brings to a billion users. And I'll refer to my uh, previous question of the mistake. We built a system that reached out to a billion endpoints and users. Um, but I think you should put more focus on how will you generate value for your customers and for your business as opposed to just thinking about scale numbers like a billion. Why I'm saying this is because you may be able to generate value for 1,000 people or 10,000 people, and that may be very meaningful to you as well as for your business, as opposed to going and scaling for billion. So I think more focus should be put on how will you generate value and what kind of uh, uh, value will that be for your business.
Super. Fantastic. So with this, I must say that you gave us an exposure of world of AI, the edge computing, value building, and this billion device, billion users kinds of mindset and product managers mindset. So it is actually building a. It was a masterclass in building a mindset of a true product visionary. Sahil, your journey reminds us that building technology at scale isn't just about code or KPI. It's about trust, impact, and leadership, and especially the networking part which you mentioned. And that's a truth for everyone across the globe. And what I have learned, that you have worked across the globe. So from mentoring global teams to architecting intelligent systems that reduce downtime and save millions, you've shown us how to bridge strategy with empathy and innovation with responsibility, especially the guard hat experience which you mentioned. Now, to my listeners and people who are watching this show today, whether you are a student wondering where to begin, a mid career professional navigating change, or a tech enthusiast curious about where AI is headed, let this conversation remind you that the future is not something we wait for, it is something we build. With this, Sahil, thank you for being that builder and for sharing your story with such clarity and generosity. So, until next time, I must ask all my users or all my viewers to ask bold questions, and definitely we have mind and role model like Sahil to answer you, help you guide and navigate at the challenging area where you're stuck or maybe in dilemma. Do I have the right to say that? I'm just
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely
because
no.
and
I'm
as Sahil also mentioned about his upcoming blog on product management activity. So as soon as it's live, we will be also circulating for you to go through it. You can follow Sahil in LinkedIn, as he mentioned. That's one of the biggest or most important, footholding tool to be there. And do not hesitate, even if you have the question which you feel is silly. It may not sound silly to a master or a guru or somebody who is mentoring. So do ask bold questions. And with this, thank you, Sahil, so much for your time. Definitely, you are in US and we are having this time difference, but your enthusiasm to narrate your career journey to all of us actually, doesn't make me feel that we are at a different times recording it. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. And I just want to say this at the very end, perhaps a quote. If my experience doesn't help anyone else, then what's the point of having that experience?
Basically, now I'll add a marketing angle to it. We will reach to the people where it will help everyone, and because you
Yeah.
had a great journey and the clarity with which you navigated your career, with that kind of mindset we have in our youngsters today, we do have, they would actually relate to you in much more clarity that why they do the MBA, not just for an essay or not just for a but purpose driven roadmap. So I think you presented it very well, and wishing you all the best and much more accolades. Make India proud, and not just across your technical dream or technical area, but across the globe. All the best, Sahil. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.